Alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hello everyone. I hope you are doing well and I hope you are enjoying your new experience of e-learning. This is Ms. Fatima Al-Belushi from Sour College of Applied Sciences. Obviously, I will be your lecturer for week 9 which talks about detective fiction. But before start our lecture today, I want to let you know I'm going to use the Word file instead of using the PowerPoint, and in this board here I'm gonna highlight for you the most important words or the most important ideas that you need to understand while you are studying this week for your final exams. Inshallah, this week or this video will be useful for you, and once you will finish it, if you have any question, feel free to contact Ms. Amal Rajhi from Nizwa Kas, or Dr. Farhan from Salala's Kas, or me, Ms. Fatima Al-Belushi from Sur Kas. So let's start our lecture by talking about the main ideas or the most important ideas that we are gonna highlight. We will talk about four ideas: why focus on literature as a popular culture, fictional detectives and society, detective fiction in the USA, and at the end, as usual, we are going to highlight the case study. Let's start by talking about the first idea, which is why focus on literature as a popular culture. Which is mean, why do we need to talk about novel, especially the detective fiction, on this course? This is, of course, because of two reasons, as you see here in this part of your slide or of your word, if you are following me only the word. Number one, because the cultural studies, when it started at the beginning, it was far away or away from the literature. It focused on something else, as we discussed and as we saw on the previous lecture. So this is considered as a good chance and a good opportunity to measure if we can apply or if we can use some idea within the cultural studies on a particular genre of the novel, which is the detective fiction. So this is the first reason. The reason is the genre itself, the type, which brought many themes to the life, many themes that cultural studies they can focus on it and study it. For example, we have the tension between being popular and being artistic. Of course, there are many themes this genre brought to the life. Okay, so let's move to talk about the second idea for today, which is fictional detectives and society. Here we are gonna talk about why the detective fiction it wasn't popular before the 19th century. Now we need to know that novels actually it was well established, which is mean it was known. People they know the novels, but the detective fiction stories or the this type of stories it wasn't popular until the 19th century only. Okay, this is because of three reasons. Number one, people before this time, which is the 19th century, during this date, they were suffering what? Before that time, sorry, they were suffering from something which is called illiteracy, which is mean people or uh, a big group of people they can't read, they can't write. So how I'm gonna write a novel for them? How I'm gonna sell it? So, before this time, people, as I say, they were suffering from illiteracy. But in the 19th century and during this date, literacy it comes to the word. Now, a big number of people they know how to read, they know how to write. So it's considered as a big chance if I want to sell my book. Okay? So there is a big market here. We have a market where we can go and buy books because we can read. There is a market where people they can go and sell their books because again there are customers who they can read their books. Number two, it's about modern police force. This one, modern police force. Before the 19th century, it wasn't there, only it was famous or existed during this century, the 19th century. Now, why we need to talk about modern police force? Let's go back to the idea of the detective, where we have a policeman who is working on a police station, who is working on investigating and solving crimes. This is the idea of detective fiction. So, if there is a policeman, that's mean, or I need a policeman, sorry, to solve the crimes for me, and only the modern police force it was existed on the 19th century. The third reason it was the idea itself. It was impossible to have it on non-modern society. So we have the idea again, which we talked about it. It was only popular or possible within the modern societies, but societies before the 19th century, we can say it wasn't too modern. For that, the detective fiction it wasn't popular before the 19th century. Okay, so now let's move to talk about the link between the popular literature and society by talking about the Sherlock Holmes novel. I'm sure many of you heard about this novel, but for those who they hear it for the first time, you need to know that this novel, Sherlock Holmes novel, it was popular on the English speaking world, which is mean on the countries that speak English. During the 19th century and until today, it's considered one of the famous and successful novels. This is the name of the writer, the person who wrote this story or this novel. His name is Sir Arthur Conan. This man, he was successful person because of his stories, because of the genre, the types that he followed while he's writing his stories. This novel also it was popular because of the character Sherlock Holmes himself. We are gonna talk about the character uh, separately here. So the character, as I said, consider one of the reasons why this novel was so popular. Uh, this is because he was the only one who were able to solve the crimes that no one else can solve it. Number two, he was using logic and detective reasoning while he was solving the crimes. And this approach that he followed, it helped people to understand and to recognize England, the society that were they were living in it. Now again, let's talk about these three ideas separately. Okay, let me press this here. Okay, so number one, as we said, he was the only one who were able to solve the crimes that happen on that society, which is England societies, of course. Now he was trying to prove that individuals or one person he can, and actually they do make a difference. They can make a change on the societies, of course. The second one, which is logic and detective reasoning, or using the logic and detective reasoning, he was trying to prove that the scientific methods and the rational detectives, if we use those both, they can make the society, of course, better and better. They are bettering the society. And the last one, as we said, he helped in making the society, the England societies, more understandable. Now there were many people who they were having or facing difficulties in understanding the society, in understanding the changes that happen during that time, especially in England. So the character and the stories that were written on the book, they helped people to understand the change on the world around them. Let's talk about the first case, which is individuals they can and they do make a change on the societies. They can make a differences on the society. Now here, during the 19th century in UK, in England, the society started to become big and big. Of course, we have example here, which is London. In London, the population during that time it was over 4 million. So imagine how people they were feeling, individuals, you as an individual, people They started to feel like they are less important, they were marginalized, they were less relevant and less important. Societies at the same time it started to become contemporary, which is mean a developed society. Now they started to depend on the machines. So there is a big change now here. So they replaced the old certainties with what? With the scientific theories, with something which is new. As we said, now the societies become modern. So we need something new to deal with the crimes, to deal with the other fields on the society. They depend on the machines, as I said. And the last one we have here, we talked about it, Sherlock Holmes, he was the only detective who could solve particular crimes or most of the crimes that the societies faced. Now he was trying to prove, although we have a modern society and we have a large cities, but still individuals they can make a change, they can make society better and better, of course. Let's move to talk about the second case, which is scientific method and rational detection. They make the society better, they can make a good society. We can use both of them in order to solve the crimes. The writer, as you see here in this part of your word or of your lecture, the writer, when he was trying to solve some crimes or some cases, he was using science and progress, as you see here, science and progress. Okay, this is an example. The example talks about the robbery. A robbery happened in one of properties in UK. So there was a dog. As we know, or according to the science, dogs will not bark if they know the person. Okay, and they notice during the time where the robbery happened, the dogs didn't bark, which is mean didn't make any noise or any voice, which make them solve the crime by saying that if the dog didn't bark, that's mean the dog knows the person. So this is the second case. Okay, so the third case, which is as you see here, about character and the stories inside that book. As I mentioned before, many people they faced lots of difficulties in understanding the amount of change that happen on the society, the change that happen around them on the surrounding area. So both character and the stories they worked or they helped people to understand the society. They were trying to tell people that this society is able to understood and actually it's not a threatening society. So let's talk about detective fiction in the USA. Now here we need to know that unlike the UK, detective fiction novels was popular in USA during the 20th century. These stories it was designed to reflect the real life, which is mean there was a direct link between people's life and the stories inside the book. After the First World War, people they were suffering, or the USA was suffering from Great Depression, which is mean people they faced lots of problems in their life, like the poverty and employment. So they need money. They were living a hard life. For that, the writers of the novels they were using people's life on their stories. Okay, so there was no different between the stories inside the book and also the people's life. Now we need to talk about these reasons why it was popular. Number one, as you see here, because there was no order inside that book for the crimes were happen randomly, the same of the real life. Number two, stability. There is no stability, which is mean people's life was changing too fast and without their control. And the third one, we have no casualty, as you see here. So no casualty is related to the bad people and the good people. We know that in each film, for example, or in any book, detective fictional novels, we have a good people and we have bad people. Let's say like this. Now, most of the time, we can see or we can read the bad people, they will have a punishment at the end, while the good people, they will have a reward, as you see here. But actually, on the detective fictional novels in the USA, we cannot find such situation. Not always, as you see here, not always the good people will get rewards and the bad people will get punishment. So the fourth reason was resolution, which is related, of course, for the solution at the end of each story. Now, as you see here, the narrative is not tied up neatly, which is mean there was no solution at the end of each story. Sometimes they put it as an open end, as they call it, or sometimes people they will find the solution is there, but actually it's give them a sense of uneasy or incompleteness. Let's move to talk about why these books were so popular. Number one, because of vicarious life, which is mean the character's life inside the book is worse than people real life. Number two, we have personal histories, which is mean many authors they use their personal life, their real life, and the stories they wrote about themselves. You will have here two examples. You can go for it. Let's talk about only one, which is about James Elroy. James Elroy, his mother murdered while I think he was a child, so he wrote about his experience, especially from the psychological dimension side. Okay. Number three, the sense of completion that detective stories were giving people. Okay. So the stories will give people lots of information that they can't have it on the real life if they heard about any particular crimes, for example. Okay. But on those books, people they were having lots of information. They were having sometimes the solutions as well. For that, it was too popular. For these three reasons, as I said, a vicarious life, using a personal history, and the sense of completion.